I guess what we've heard this morning and the kind of, it is the positivity around wellbeing. So I apologise, I'm going to sort of bring us slightly more negative for the next 20 minutes in that I'm going to talk about a bit about what if we don't do it. So kind of a bit about the business case and actually some statistics and things like that that can try and sort of drill home. And I think that the key points we've heard it in the last presentation, is that leadership buy-in. So actually, how can we sell this? This is an activity that requires effort and cost and resources. So actually, how can we really genuinely sell this to our organisations? Because absolutely, it's the right thing to do. But how do we make sure we can kind of use that business case and that commercial acumen to make sure we're kind of leading in this agenda? So in terms of the business case, and I think, yeah, absolutely, opening slide is yes, is there a business case to kind of to sort of promote wellbeing? So this is a quote that my group MD likes to use, and I think it's a really important quote. This is coming, he's a FD by kind of his career is in FD, but actually he kind of used this quote. This was not us writing the quote for them or on his behalf, but absolutely he kind of uses this, and it's about sort of saying people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how they made you feel. So I think that feelings part, and it's a kind of just quite a profound. I just kind of wanted to start with that it's quite a telling, and that's about our employees. People go home and how they feel, and that sense of belonging from an employer perspective. I think it's really critical part of wellbeing. Okay, so again, this is the negative bit. Apologies. So cost of getting it wrong, or there's a possibility if we completely ignore it altogether. So a recent survey, this isn't construction or transport industry based, but kind of a general report. So people were asked at work, very simply, what is your biggest problem at work? And 74% of those respondents reported stress. That's a big part of it. The cost to British industry, this is industry as a whole, £26 billion on a kind of annual basis. It's a big deal. Then I think the other part of the kind of main problem, and a lot of people were reporting, which was a part of a £15 billion kind of attributed cost, is presenteeism. So presenteeism is those employees rock up for work, they'll still turn up, they're kind of there, but they're potentially underperforming, they're not very well, but think they need to be seen there. So presenteeism, again, is a big part of the wellbeing picture, that people are at work, and you think, again, it's noticing those signs. People acting, turning up to work on a daily basis, but actually they're just not themselves, or they're just not having that kind of peak performance at work. So again, the personal cost to those individuals are potentially what they're going through, and also the cost and the kind of disadvantages or the lack of benefits that they're providing to the workplace as well. Okay, so I guess as well, I think that the critical risk as well from a wellbeing perspective is safety. So I think there's that real tangible link between having somebody happy, healthy, engaged and performing at work, and that correlation to our safety record. We work in an industry where safety, we've talked about having safety and wellbeing linked as very, very closely to our kind of safety strategy. But actually there's a real correlation if people have their mind on something else that's maybe happening at home, or there's or a big bid that's about to go in, or a really important client meeting, that link to safety. How many of us have got up, and if I'm office based as well as kind of covering our depots, how often have you got driven to work and you thought, I have no idea I've got here this morning, my mind's been completely elsewhere. It's that thing. It's when you are thinking about everything else apart from your kind of job in hand. That's the presenteeism bit, and that real direct connection to making sure we are genuinely safe at work. Okay, so cost of getting it wrong. So obviously we've heard about that. So it's the low morale, lack of trust. I think we've talked about as well that this morning. A real significant point of anything from that sort of personal psychological contract that an employee has with at the workplace is about your line manager. So that genuinely is a direct correlation. If you've got a great relationship with your line manager, you are much more likely to kind of report that you're an engaged employee. But if it's that lack of trust, and if you haven't got that trust with that kind of line manager and that work, that really does sort of expand those kind of issues throughout the workplace. Can lead to conflict, long-term absence, recruitment cost, and the long-term absence side of things, again, it's all of that comes with managing long-term absence. You know, somebody is out of the business for one reason or another, there is still that work to do. There's the age-old thing that everybody else picks up the workload. So I think there's genuine things which we know about. This isn't new stuff. Managing long-term absence and things like that, this is not new to us. But I think, again, sort of thinking about this very differently in terms of a wellbeing arena and trying to make sure there's preventative measures and making sure we're talking about people's wellbeing, not just their broken leg or their bad back. It's all part of their physical wellbeing, but there's much more to it. Okay, so this is a slide graphic we used within Kier. And this kind of genuinely does capture the business case around all sorts. It's about inclusion, well-being, and employee engagement, and it all kind of goes hand in hand. So just to kind of go through some of the stats. So again, motivated, happy, healthy workforce, 18% more productive, 50% less sick days, 11% reduced workplace stress, 35% less downtime, 52% more likely to understand customer needs, 87% reduction in attrition, turnover, and 62% less accidents in the workplace. Those stats, but if we don't do it for anything else, do it for these kind of stats. And also, and I think that quite astounding when I first started being involved in wellbeing, that actually 1 in 4, this is British workers, and I think the stats are actually even worse when we kind of look into the construction industry, but 1 in 4 British workers are affected by anxiety, depression and stress. So I think another key aspect to this is the work-life balance, that agile working, flexible working, again something from an industry perspective that we possibly are not completely embracing fully. But there 53% of millennials say that work-life balance is vital for them to stay in a job. So this is a vital requirement of recruitment aspects or people to feel engaged at work. This is something else that we genuinely do need to embrace. Okay, so we've said it before, happy, healthy employees perform better. We know that. There is lots and lots of so much research that I can sit and bore with, lots and lots of data, but happy, healthy employees do perform better. And people are absolutely our most critical asset at work. So we need to be looking after them. We talked about, I think the WSP kind of summed it up well, their presentation was about culture, in terms that culture eats strategy for breakfast, and we've kind of all heard that saying. But if we haven't got a culture in place, launching something like Thrive or something like some of the wellbeing initiatives that we have in Kier, they don't land very well because you haven't got the culture to take them. So that culture aspect is really, really important, and a lot of that, I'll kind of go into it a bit more, is kind of that, again, that psychological safety and that contract that we have with our workplace, and very much linked to our line manager. Okay, so work and personal lives these days, they don't exist in this vacuum. We live in a world and a time, technology, social media. How many of you know, I'm a classic, read an email just before bed, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm back on that iPhone. You know, it's constant, and it's a very world where we are living, where we are constantly updated and affected by the external pressures of life, whether that's in or out of work. So that psychological safety that we have, which is that sort of feeling of belonging, being respected, and that comes from that line manager. So kind of specifically, we like that in life. We want to feel belonged. We want to be liked. It's part of our makeup as human beings. We want to be liked. But in terms of having that feeling that your boss and your colleagues are interested in you, they care, and they care about you as a person, and that they do like you, and that you belong. And also, therefore, that the role that you carry out has meaning and adds value. How easy is that? This is not an easy, I'm not saying that this is an easy thing to sell to every employee. But however, those are really, really simple characteristics of being human beings that we want, that ability to kind of belong and feel kind of safe in what we do. And that'll help us all to kind of thrive as individuals, and therefore absolutely thriving individuals. It said the happy, healthy employees absolutely thrive and perform well at work. So I think we've said that as well. It starts at the top. It needs to be a real commitment by leadership, not just tick box. We've kind of got, so it's about demonstrating visible leadership, and it's seen in action. So again, that kind of action piece from a leadership point of view, that it's not just this tick box exercise. And it's about giving people the best possible understanding and tools to thrive. And I keep going back, and it is important, we've talked about that this morning, but line management skills. So their emotional intelligence and a whole emotional intelligence of people and managers and leaderships at work, to really understand people and to be able to communicate with them well, to direct them and to help and assist. So if we're having these conversations on mental health first aiders, or there is just more conversation taking place, it's giving managers the confidence to be able to direct those queries, to be able to direct those kind of issues that they might bring up. So it's critical as well that we learn and consult from our people. We talked about the people are our absolute best asset, and they're the ones with the information. They're the ones that know how they feel. They're the ones with the ideas. They're the ones that are doing the job. And again, we do it in lots of things in terms of we have loads of employee consultation groups, but it's genuinely taking some information from them. And it's about listening. I think a big part of that is the listening. So it goes back to the culture aspect that are great. You know, in the kind of past few years, Kier, we have been initiative happy. We will throw out initiatives and the latest new buzzword, and it's not about that. It's about genuinely building a culture to land this, because that's the business case if we don't do it. But it's not also about just getting a bit kind of happy with various initiatives and rolling those out into the business. And this is what will start to set us apart. So it will start to set you as organisations and us as an industry to be great employers. That attraction piece from an employment point of view, the skills shortages, all those kind of stuff will genuinely help us to start to set us apart. So I just wanted to finish again. I like this kind of quote, and it's kind of my final quote in terms of, you know, again, you know, maybe not all, but it's that feeling. So people might remember, you know, maybe not remember every conversation that you've had in the kitchen over, but they will remember how that interaction with leaders, and they remember how you felt that day. And it's that classic feeling. I'm the same, you know, I'll have great days and everything will that one thing that doesn't quite go right, and I can think about it and it'll tick over. That's that well-being aspect, and it's making sure that we're using the tools and line management capability to really kind of make sure our employees are feeling good, happy, healthy at work, and it will genuinely have a real impact on performance.